Gen X memories. I've actually never tried to make a video while on my morning commute. We'll see how unsafe this is, but I think traffic's moving slow enough that it might be okay. So yeah, I'm good with dates, and so I remember it was December 29th, 1993. I was 18, and my brother, who was 2 years older than me, who was much more into music than myself, invited me to go see Nirvana, and I barely ended up going. Of course, I'm glad now that I had went, given what would happen 4 months later. But Nirvana was kind of, it was late 1993, and so grunge had already kind of hit hard, and also, seemed to kind of like the hype was kind of settling down at the time. But that show at the San Diego Sports Arena that I went to, it was general admission, and my brother and I got there really early, and so we were up front in the line, and we got to be 2 or 3 people back from right in front of Kurt Cobain. And here's another kind of weird story about that show is, of course, it was way before the time of smartphones and all of that, and so lots of concerts that you went to back then were, you went to them and you only had the memories in your mind, which sort of makes them more special. But somebody did sneak a camcorder into that show, and so the entire concert, though it's panned out quite a bit, the entire concert is on YouTube. So if I ever want to relive this time now that's 30 years old, I can just watch it. But I still, being that close up front, I still have these memories in my mind, and you won't see that in the video because it's so far panned out. I just have these images of Kurt Cobain's blonde hair blowing because he had a fan. His clothing and his hair were blowing because he had a fan on him that was on the stage, and it just made it look kind of extra cool. But here's my observation that lots of people from the millennial or Gen Z generation often don't believe. But so that show was in an arena, and it was general admission, and literally during the middle of the concert, I turned around and looked back at the entire facility, and the almost the entire arena was empty other than the floor. And some people think that that's hard to believe, but at that time, like I'd already mentioned, grunge, the hype was sort of leveling off, and especially towards Nirvana. Pearl Jam could have sold out that arena no problem at the time. Pearl Jam was much more favored in late 1993 than Nirvana. Of course, when Nirvana came out and had Nevermind, that was huge, and they were the first big ones to hit. But Nirvana sort of took a hit with a Weird Al Yankovic video that kind of made fun of how you couldn't understand any of Kurt Cobain's lyrics, and also the second album, In Utero. That show was for the In Utero tour. In Utero didn't hit quite as hard as Nevermind, and Nirvana sort of weren't taking themselves too seriously. And I remember their first music video for that In Utero album, Heart Shaped Box. It was kind of a jokey kind of video, and I think people still wanted their grunge to be serious, and so people preferred Pearl Jam because Pearl Jam always kept kind of that serious tone, and Alice in Chains as well. So yeah, there's my memory of going to the Nirvana show. We of course didn't know that Kurt Cobain would kill himself, and he'd become sort of an icon after that. But their career, you know, in late 1993 was actually kind of on a downward slope, from what I remember, and people just seriously, people favored Pearl Jam at that time. Pearl Jam just had a better like follow-up album, and just kept that grunge mystique that people kind of liked about them. But anyway, yeah. So there's my story about Nirvana not being quite as popular as people might imagine in late 1993.